China has been spying on Ghana and 70% of Africa. From the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa to the Foreign Affairs Ministry building in Accra, Ghana, China has been involved in the construction of about 200 government buildings in 40 African countries. These buildings have been credibly identified as potential espionage vectors that China has exploited in the past. Basically, China has been building spying tools across Africa. My name is Nenebi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer based in the US, and welcome to Do or Da. If you like my channel, subscribe. Let's start with the big one. In 2012, the African Union received a 200 million gift from the Chinese government. So the African Union headquarters, with all the electrical and IT devices in it, were constructed, designed, and built by the Chinese government and donated to the African Union. However, from 2012 to 2017, from midnight to 2 a.m., the computer servers in the African Union headquarters was receiving unusual traffic. What the engineers will later notice is there was high traffic activity happening when nobody was in the building from midnight to 2 a.m. And they noticed later that the computer servers was sending data dumps from Addis Ababa to Shanghai, China. Which means that every day when the African Union workers went to work and used their computers to do AU work, the Chinese government received daily reports on what the African Union was up to. So in 2017, when the African Union found out about this, they quietly changed all their computer servers and their IT devices and didn't tell anybody about it. In 2018, when Le Monde Afrique, a French investigative outlet, reported that the Chinese government was spying on the African Union for 5 years, the Chinese government denied it and said, we did no such thing. Because it would be bad to spy on your trade partner. And the African Union also denied it because it would be shameful that you've been spied on for 5 years and you didn't know about it. However, the fact that in 2017, the engineers quietly changed all their servers was a clue to the fact that there was indeed unusual activities happening that the African Union had to get rid of. Why does this matter? In November 2009, the Ghana Foreign Affairs Ministry building, the old Ghana Foreign Affairs Ministry building, was burnt down by fire. And in December 2009, the Chinese government donated some computers and other IT devices to the government of Ghana and promised to help Ghana build their new foreign affairs building. And so in March 2013, Ghana received a gift of foreign affairs building from China, and it included computers, asset control, and everything IT related from China. So China, who was spying on African Union, donated the same devices they were using to spy on African Union to Ghana. And as of now, we have no information what have been going on with those devices. But it gets crazier. In May 2020, the Heritage Foundation in the US identified that 186 government buildings across Africa was either constructed or renovated by China. That means 24 presidential offices and residences across Africa built by China. 26 parliament and parliament offices across Africa built by China. 32 military installations in Africa built by China. 19 foreign affairs buildings, including the one in Ghana, built by China. And this is even crazier. CCP, the Chinese government, has a surveillance requirement policy that all Chinese companies are required to comply with. So it doesn't matter which Chinese company you are dealing with, whether it's Huawei or whichever company, they are under obligation to comply with surveillance requests by CCP. I'm not saying they do it, but why will you have a policy and not use it? I'll give you a crazy example. The US was running a covert operation in a lot of countries, including Ghana, throughout the 1960s, right? So in 1966, when the CIA helped to overthrow the president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, what the CIA did was they exploited the weakness that already existed in Ghana. So the CIA cannot just come to Ghana and force Ghanaians to overthrow Nkrumah. No. What they can do is they notice that, okay, Ghanaians are angry with Nkrumah. That's one. Two, there are people in Nkrumah's government who hate Nkrumah. Three, there are people in the military who hate Nkrumah. So they approach these people based on information they have and use those people to destabilize the country. I'm not saying the Chinese government have done this, but that is a vector. What that means is that is a tool that they can use. So if the US did it in 1966, the Chinese can do it in 2025. And it gets even crazier than this. The Ghana government has an e-government platform that they've been running since 2013, I believe. And Huawei powers this. So all government digitalization projects in Ghana is being powered by the Chinese government or the Chinese company Huawei. And from 2018, several governments across the world, including Canada, Australia, the United States, New Zealand, and some European countries, have identified Huawei as a company that is acting as a surveillance partner for the Chinese government. So the Huawei devices that the Ghanaian government is using in their data centers, other countries have identified as an espionage vector that the Chinese government has exploited. And this is concerning. One, because of the example I provided about the Nkrumah situation. Two, because the world is getting at a point where information is at an all-time high. So access to information is power. So a lot of time when Ghana is doing projects, Ghanaian government has a policy. It is a requirement that whenever Ghanaian government is about to do a project, they ask people to bid, and whoever has the best bid has access to use the information, right? So the Chinese government and Chinese companies who have access to information on Ghanaian government always would have the best offers, in quote, because they know what the government of Ghana is looking for. So let me use an example that every human being on earth can understand. Say I'm trying to ask a girl out, and I know that that girl's love language is physical touch and gift giving, specifically flowers. If I go and talk to the girl the first time and I give the girl flowers and rub her arm while I'm talking to her, she'll be like, this is my guy, he understands me. And as a guy who have used that tactic by paying attention to what girls want, I have said this on this platform before. The whole world is high school. Big issues are just like small issues. So if a guy can use information about a girl to get the girl to like him, a government can use information about another government to get that government to do their bidding. So the Chinese government can always get the Ghanaian government to do the bidding of the Chinese government. I'm not saying they've done that, but there is nothing that John Mahama and their government have done or said to give me assurance that they are not at the beak and core of the Chinese government. Anytime I hear that people in their government open their mouth to say anything about Ghana in relation to China, it's like they are offering the Chinese government lap dances. And that concerns me because the philosophy of the government of Ghana, the philosophy of Ghana, and the philosophy of the government of China, and the philosophy of China are two different things. We do not have the same philosophical agenda as China. We do not have the same philosophical agenda as the US. We do not have the same philosophical agenda as other countries. We may have the same philosophical agenda as Nigeria. We may have the same philosophical agenda as South Africa. We may have the same philosophical agenda as Brazil. But those governments or those countries do not have information advantage that China have. So Nigeria cannot make Ghana fall in love with Nigeria because Nigeria do not know the things about Ghana that China does. And what even angers me the most is Ghana government's big issue for the past maybe 5 years has been dealing with illegal mining in Ghana. And I'll shock you by saying this. The Chinese government benefits directly and indirectly from illegal mining in Ghana. The proof is Ghana's biggest financial import from China in 2024 were mining equipment, excavators and bulldozers. That means Chinese government specifically received money from Ghana. But I want to end by saying this. I love Sierra Leone. I've been to Sierra Leone. And the last time I was in Sierra Leone, I went to Huawei Library to donate copies of my book. And Huawei is important because Huawei is the oldest European-style university in sub-Saharan Africa. So Huawei is very, very important to the heritage of Africa. And when I went to Huawei, I like the amphitheater, beautiful. Actually like how Huawei looks over the mountains and all that, beautiful place. But when I went to their library, the first floor of the library, the way you enter the library through, have only books about China. And they told me that those books were donations from China. But why does China get to control the first sighting of books in the most prestigious or one of the most heritaged colleges in Africa? They also built the Foreign Affairs building in Sierra Leone, like they did in Ghana. So China get to control what information kids who are going to the most heritaged college in Sierra Leone have. That not bother anybody, it bother me. So thank you for listening to my channel. Subscribe, and like I said, I offer cultural commentary on tech, business, and media. And for the past few weeks, the relationship between the government of Ghana and the government of China have been bothering me, so I've been speaking on it. Have a good week, or good how long ever it's going to take for us to talk again. I recorded this on my MacBook because I've not had access to my phone and other recording devices for some time because I dropped my phone in water. But the show must go on, and hope you liked it.